Okay, here we go. Thank you for joining the Bible and Revelations. Today is episode 33, Genesis 18. I really appreciate you tuning in. And there's my air conditioning in the background. I'll try to figure out if I can wipe that off of the audio, but we'll see. Anyway, Genesis 18. The son of promise. Then the Lord appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, as he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh your hearts. After that, you may pass by, inasmuch as you have come to your servant. They said, Do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah, and said, Quickly, make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, and gave it to a young man, and he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf, which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, Where is Sarah, your wife? So he said, Here in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah your wife shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. Abraham intercedes for Sodom. Then the men rose from there and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing, since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And the Lord said, Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I will know." Then the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom. But Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, "Would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" So the Lord said, "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes." Then Abraham answered and said, "Indeed, now I, who am but dust and ashes, have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord." I'm reading the wrong version. I'm going to start at verse 18:22. Because this Bible is kind of a modern version where they gloss over important facts. Okay, Genesis 18:22. At this point, the men turned from there and got on their way to Sodom. But as for Jehovah, or Yahweh, it only has a tetragrammaton, YWHW. And some people say Jehovah, some say Yahweh. At this point, the men turned from there and got on their way to Sodom. But as for Jehovah, he was still standing before Abraham. Then Abraham approached and began to say, "Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous men in the midst of the city. Will you then sweep them away and not pardon the place for the sake of the 50 righteous who are inside it? It is unthinkable of you that you are acting in this manner, to put to death the righteous man with the wicked one, so that it has to occur with the righteous man as it does with the wicked. It is unthinkable of you. Is the judge of all the earth not going to do what is right?" Then Jehovah said, "If I shall find in Sodom 50 righteous men in the midst of the city, I will pardon the whole place on their account." But Abraham went on to answer and say, "Please, here, I have taken upon myself to speak to Jehovah, whereas I am dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 righteous should be lacking 5. Will you, for the 5, bring the whole city to ruin?" To this he said, "I shall not bring it to ruin if I find there 45. But yet again he spoke and further to him and said, "Suppose 40 are found there." In turn he said, "I shall not do it on account of the 40. But he continued, "May Jehovah please not grow hot with anger, but let me go on speaking. Suppose 30 are found there." In turn he said, "I shall not do it if I find 30 there." But he continued on, "Please, here I have taken upon myself to speak to Jehovah. Suppose 20 are found there." In turn he said, "I shall not bring it to ruin on account of the 20. Finally he said, "May Jehovah please not grow hot with anger. But let me speak just this once. Suppose 10 are found there." In turn he said, "I shall not bring it to ruin on account of the 10. Then Jehovah went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. That's the end of Genesis 18. Let's see if there's any notes here. It might be interesting. One of these three men was the Lord, and the other two were angels. Wow. This is amazing. Abraham actually spoke to God face to face. And on top of that, was asking for favors and asking God to be merciful and spare the city if there were just a few righteous men. That shows he has a lot of confidence, or was very familiar with God. I don't know, but this is one of the mysterious manifestations of Jesus in the Old Testament before his incarnation. God's people demonstrate the reality of their faith when they humbly, hospitably, and responsively serve one another, as Abraham did his guest. God reaffirmed in Sarah's hearing that Abraham would have a son, and that the child would be born of Sarah. An announcement that so challenged even her strong faith that she laughed within herself. The text indicates that she denied her laughter even as it lingered in her voice. I believe the boy's name was Benjamin, child of joy. We'll see. I forgot. That the Lord did not hide his plans or the secrets of his heart from Abraham demonstrates that this servant of God was indeed a friend of God. The phrase, "I have known him," reinforces this. The Lord knew that Abraham would command his children and his household to follow him. The Lord fully understood what was happening in Sodom. He did not need to go down there and see, but as in other times in Scripture, he graciously accommodates his language here for human understanding. Abraham's opening question should not be misunderstood. He knew God cared about the righteous. As the negotiations went from 50 to 10, Abraham was not possibly thinking of Lot and his family. Abraham was possibly thinking of Lot and his family, because Lot was his, I think it's his brother. His family, his wife and their 2 daughters and their husbands, and assuming that at least a few others beside them must be righteous. So Abraham was basically asking God a favor to spare the city so that his brother would not be, and his whole family, his brother, his wife, and daughters and their husbands, so that they would not be killed because they lived in an evil city. But from God's perspective, it's not really a horrible thing. Let's say there are 10 devil worshippers in my house. From God's perspective, if he just destroys the house, he gets 1 Christian and 10 devil worshippers. He doesn't think of the Christian as dying, because none of those people will die. They will leave this life, and their family will no longer be able to help their family. That is significant. But he got to stop the evil that the 10 devil worshippers were doing. And this Christian is going to be with him. Much better off. So while from Abraham's perspective, if Lot and his family were to die, it'd be very bad for him and his family. They would be very, very sad and devastated. But from God's perspective, it would actually be a benefit to Lot and his family, because they'll go to heaven. The evil people are all going to burn in hell. But he did Abraham a favor. He says, I will spare the whole city if they are in that city and those few are good. So, Abraham's opening question should not be misunderstood. He knew God cared about the righteous. As the negotiations went from 50 to 10, Abraham was possibly thinking of Lot and his family, his wife and their 2 daughters and their husbands, and assuming that at least a few others besides them must be righteous. According to the deal that Abraham negotiated with God, Lot and his family members should have died, because not even 10 righteous people could be found. Yet God showed mercy on 10 righteous people. God showed mercy on Lot. Because of Abraham's intercession, God hears the prayers of his people when they passionately and persistently come to him. What incredible things would happen if the Lord heard a steady stream of intercessory prayer from Christians everywhere? That's a good question. And we'll leave it there. That's the end of episode 33. Genesis 18. So I want you to know, I'll relate it in a story. So your emotions can trigger different hormones in your body. If you want to be happy, if there's not something that's so devastating, like somebody died or something, but let's say a few days later, you know that you have to start thinking of good things, or because your life is going to fall apart. So whenever you want to be happy, you can be happy. You could end sorrow anytime you want, if you just focus. Stand up straight. Force yourself to smile. When you force yourself to smile, that automatically starts releasing good hormones into your blood. Stand up straight and tall as you can, and think of a time when you were happy, excited, enthusiastic, hopeful. Okay, so to show how this can be bad for you, when you're happy and excited, your body releases those hormones I told you about. Interferon and interleukin-2. And these actually are very good for your body. They actually these are actually cancer treatments. I don't know where they get it, but like a little tube of interferon is like, I don't know, $50,000 or something. A little vial. And they give it to someone with cancer, and the interleukin-2 or the interferon will kill cancer cells. It kills anything that's bad for your body, viruses, bacteria. But if you're sad, depressed, upset, angry, frustrated, your brain will release adrenaline and I forgot the other chemical, but bad chemicals. These suppress your immune system, so that if you have shook hands with someone that had the flu and you're happy, the good chemicals are going to destroy that virus. But if you're sad, depressed, especially for 2 or 3 days, you're going to get sick. Probably. You're more likely to get sick. So just to think of it, if you want to be healthy, try to think of good things and be happy. I like to do. I think of my kids, and right away I smile. And I say, if you pray and say, thank you for my son, thank you for my daughter, for my house, my car, my job, whatever, right away you get happy. But also, when I first learned this, I would pretend like I just won the lottery. I go, yeah, all right. And knowing that my brain was releasing good chemicals into my blood. So use whatever you can just to be happy, and think of it as a vitamin that's helping your immune system. Okay, thanks very much for tuning in to episode 33, and I'll see you next week.